Andrew Yang, I see you've been writing on your paper a lot. We haven't heard from you a little bit. You haven't. Where do you see the race right now? Where do you see this going for Joe Biden?
I believe that Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee. And I've always said I'm going to support whoever the nominee is. So I hereby am endorsing Joe Biden to be not just the nominee for the Democratic Party, but the next president of the United States. And I say this, having supported Bernie Sanders in 2016, Bernie was an inspiration for me, inspired my run. But the math says Joe is our prohibitive nominee. We need to bring the party together. We need to start working on defeating Donald Trump in the fall. I've had many personal conversations with Joe about the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on the middle class. I believe that he's the right man for the job to help us not just defeat Donald Trump, but govern the country in the years ahead.
And the question is, I guess I have for you, is what does he need to do to bring the Yang gang and the Sanders folks to him?
And what do you say to your supporters who might support Sanders still?
What I'd say is that we need to start doing the work of improving Americans' lives on the ground, because too many Americans have seen their way of life disintegrate over the last number of years. And Bernie has been calling out those problems and tapping into the frustration in the right way. And so if Joe says this is going to be a return to business as usual, he's in danger of losing many of the young people that came out for Bernie that supported my campaign. He has to show that, look, we know that this economy is not working for many, many Americans, millions of Americans who feel left behind. And you can't just say we're going to swing the pendulum back to the Obama-Biden years. We have to actually start doing the work that activated people to vote for Donald Trump, that activated people to get out for Bernie Sanders. I believe Joe is open to that message. His heart's in the right place. He's a really, really patriotic, public servant, decent man. He wants to do right by the American people. To me, a lot of it's about getting real solutions in place that more and more Americans feel like will actually improve their day-to-day lives.
Have you had conversations with the Biden campaign about endorsement?
I have. Joe called me last week. We had a really great conversation, and it was hard to say no to Joe at that time, but I have such admiration and respect for Bernie, what he's meant to so many Americans. I think Bernie has called out the real problems in a very powerful and necessary way. So I wanted to let the democratic process play out, and I believe it has. At this point, you can see very clearly that Biden is building a delegate lead that's only going to grow in the days ahead. And so we need to come together as a party starting tonight.
What would you say to Sanders supporters who, obviously are going to be unhappy if Sanders drops out of the race? For you, as it is, as Senator Sanders has said himself, defeating Donald Trump trumps all of that.
I would say I get it. And that I believe that Joe gets it too, even though you might not feel that in the same way. I get the frustration. I get the desire for a revolution. I get the fact that it seems like our institutions are failing us right and left. I get all of that. It's why I ran. But we have to defeat Donald Trump in order to make progress on the climate, on any of these problems in a bigger way. And you have to believe that Bernie and Elizabeth and I and other people will have a voice in the Biden administration to start solving these problems.
This is what Andrew's saying is the dynamic you're going to see set in the next few days. The person who looms largest in this Democratic primary process has been Donald Trump. And a lot of Democrats have been searching for the candidate they think has the best opportunity to beat Trump. And Biden emerged as that candidate when Bloomberg faded away and so on. And now the verdict is clear. The danger is not to continue the primary if you're Biden in your own head and make the turn to the general election and give people a sense of enlistment in this cause of restoring decency and the other themes that he is so comfortable. He was great in South Carolina on this. He needs to strike that tone tonight more than a triumphal tone
that's what
about
you want to
winning
hear
the
tonight.
primary. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he needs to draw a distinction with Donald Trump. He has to take a turn and start acting like a president, because now people will start comparing him to the person who is in the Oval Office. And that will be, for example, on how you would handle the coronavirus if you had been in the Oval Office. Would you have gotten rid of the office that would have been in charge of this in 2018 if you had been president? Would there be more testing now? What would you be doing right now, if you were president of the United States, I think you have to give people an opportunity now to look at you as president and compare you to Donald
But
Trump.
I would not do that tonight.
not tonight.
I would
Not
not do that
necessarily.
tonight.
Van, go ahead.
You can do
Hey,
both.
listen,
You can do both.
I think his main appeal, Biden, is that he wants to bring the country together and heal it.
Yep.
And I tell you, when you got a pandemic going on, somebody who's a healer has a lot of appeal. But the first thing you got to do is bring this party together. If you want to bring America together, your first test of that is, can you bring this party together? I'm going to tell you right now, as happy as a lot of people are up here tonight, there's a lot of people whose hopes have been crushed tonight. I don't think a lot of people get it. There are people they don't know how they're going to make it. They're in the gig economy. This whole pandemic is throwing them completely out of work. They can't go from point A to point B, and they don't see the passion yet from Joe Biden for their pain. They don't trust him yet to fight till the last dog barks for them, and they trust Bernie Sanders to do it. If Bernie's going to be ushered off the stage tonight, and Biden's going to stand up there, he's got to pull those people close to him, and the empathy that he has for everybody else, he's got to have for these Bernie kids.
Are all y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend. Climate change is real again. Science rules.